Hello, welcome back to the Ultimate Corner. I've got another video for you today, and it's a little bit different. It's going to be more of a story time, and hopefully you'll all enjoy this one. It's about a guy called John William Cooper. John William Cooper is an extremely bad guy. He's not American. He's not like Canadian or anything like that. He's Welsh, same as me. Difference is I'm not a bad guy like this guy. Um, he's from a called Milford Haven. He was born and bred in Milford Haven, and this is where all of his acts were undertaken. Just to pre-warn, obviously we're talking about murder here, but we're also going to touch upon and speak a little bit about. I'm sure you understand SA and also the RA. Four word. I'm not going to delve into it, but it is part of his what he had done as well. So the main thing we're concentrating is on the murders, and hopefully this has just been an informative video for you all, and I hope you enjoy. So with that, let's get on with it. Hey, check me out on the sofa. Just thought I'd go somewhere different. I've got Oh my god, with my hands. Why am I? No, this way. Okay. I got a stand right in front of me. I got a ring light and everything. This is brilliant. Just got delivered now. Amazon, thank you. So I thought I'd move and give you another perspective. Obviously, it's not a finished job yet, but it'll do. It's better than where I was anyway. So let's get back into this now, right? Because I don't want this to go on too long. So John Cooper. Right, so John Cooper was born on the 3rd of September 1944. He's from Milford Haven. So, as we said earlier, he's from Wales. He's a Welshman. I can see from the map of Wales right here. Such a beautiful map. Such a beautiful country. Look at it. Lovely. So, that is Wales. And this where you see the red dot here, this is Milford Haven. It's down by the coast. So, it's in southwest Wales. A lovely part of the country. Um, I don't live too far away from there, probably about an hour or just over an hour. But it is a lovely spot. It's very coastal, lovely in the summer. It's not far from Ireland either, so Republic of Ireland. You can go catch a ferry quite easily from there. But anyway, let's get away from that. I'm not a travel show. I'm going to talk about John Cooper here. So, John, he had a wife called Pat. He had a son called Adrian and a daughter called Teresa. I wish I could say that it was all happy families, but I think we all know it wasn't. Pat was abused a lot. She was definitely scared of him, you know, and she wasn't in great health either. So it's not a great situation she's in. Adrian and Teresa, when they grew up, they were surrounded by a monster who abused them, hit them. He killed their little chickens, shot their heads off right in front of them, killed a pig right in front of them. Things that you just don't do in front of children. What an a-hole. Do you know what I mean? Come on. But anything good they had, he would just, especially Adrian, he would just beat the living crap out of it. But that was their life. That's what they got into. I'm not going to go too much into them as a family. I respect the fact that Teresa, no one knows much about her. Adrian now changed his name to Andrew. Um, but again, I respect he's moved on with his life. I'm not going to put any pictures of him up here or anything like that. And unfortunately, died. Pat died actually when when John came out the prison, which we'll get to, but he got released from prison, and on that very night she died. She had heart complications and stuff, but she'd been about 10 years without him living, and I think she was just like, I can't do it. Now I got nothing. It wasn't anything but natural causes, but can you imagine the worry and thinking this guy's come back into my life? That, you know, I hope no one ever has to live. I know people do live like that, but that's not, you know. Anyway, right. Let's move on from that. That's yeah, that's making me quite sad. Right. So John, he was a farm labourer for majority of his life. That's all he knew. He knew the farms and things like that. So he'd always jump from farm to farm, and yeah, just labour, be a handyman basically around these farms. That meant that he knew the area very well. He knew the terrain very well. He knew the woods, the fields, and everything very well. He used to walk around them. He used to look after all the animals in the area. So he knew every nook and cranny, basically. And by that I mean he knew where people would walk, where tourists would be on the paths and stuff like that. Because there was nature walks and stuff like that in the area, so he knew where they would be. But he also knew where people wouldn't walk or wouldn't dare walk. So he knew where he could go and hide. He knew where he could stash things. So when he started burglarizing, he could then just go, you know what? He used to take his gloves, take his jumper, wherever he had on. Um, he should just go back up the woods and just chuck them in the hedges. Mental. That's just, but that's what he did because he knew no one would find anything. It was safer to put things in the hedges than it was to take it home. So no one would ever find these things because he was the only one that knew about them. So whenever he was ready to go and burglarize more houses or more people, then he just pop back up the woods, grab his gloves, grab his clothes, balaclava and everything, put them all on, off he goes. That easy. Like these days, you're not going to do any of that. But back then, in the 80s, oh sorry, in the 60s, happy days. Just do whatever you want. Just dump them. No one's ever going to find them. People going on nature trails aren't going to go off and veer off and stuff. The farmers and stuff, they're not going to be up there in the woods looking specifically in bushes. So you just leave the stuff there for weeks and months, wherever. Didn't matter. So, fair play to him. He's able to do that and get away with it for many years. So that was one benefit of being a farm labourer and a local of the area. So a little bit more about John. Between the ages of 17 and 21, he's a bit of a, I was going to say prick, but we'll just call him a dick. You know, um, he was arrested and charged for theft of vehicle, so he stole cars. He assaulted a police officer, which is bizarre to me how people assault a police officer, especially in rural Wales, where it's like there's only a small handful of them, and you know them, and they know you well as well. So he assaulted one. Obviously, got arrested. Being drunk and disorderly because he was always drunk. He would always go out and spend his money, um, and also assault occasioning in actual body harm, ABH. So he had a bit of a list going for him. He was a bit of a troublemaker. Whenever he had a pint in him, he would always want to fight. So he had a reputation. People didn't want to mess with him, and I can understand why. Why would you want to mess with someone starts fights over the smallest things? So there was that. What changed for a little bit was he got married to Pat in July 1966. So he got married, and to the outside world, he still drank and stuff, and people still scared of him, but he didn't get into any trouble that we are aware of for in the short term. But what we are also aware of is that the assault he did on Pat, he'd assault her all the time, her and the children, especially, Adrian. So things happen in people's homes people just don't know about, and he took it out on them, obviously. rather than probably was on the last warning or something about going to prison. So he's like, okay, I need to calm down, and then he just took it out on his family, which is ridiculous and so sad to hear. So what changed for John? Unfortunately, he somehow karma somehow rewarded him at some point. I don't understand things like this. Like you got this dick who does all these awful things, and then he sort of gets rewarded. And by rewarded, I mean he wins 90 grand. 90 grand. That's £90,000. That's $120,000. That's equivalent these days, because that happened in 1978. That's equivalent these days about £500,000 and probably about 650, 700,000, well, $250,000. So he won it by playing spot the ball. I'm sure some of you are like, spot the what? Spot the ball? What? So let's show you. Spot the ball. Here it is. So you've got to pick a square. You put an X in the square, then you just post it off. It's like a mini lottery type thing. I'm not sure how much it costs, probably £1 or something like that. But gets sent off, and then in 1978, what happens? He comes back, and he's told that he's won £90,000. Anyway, you think then, okay, anyone sensible is like, okay, well, let's put a bit aside. Let's save a bit. Let's save a bit for the kids, hopefully grandkids in the future. Give his wife something nice. Oh, because also he won a car worth 4 grand as well, so about $6,000 on a car. So in total, he won nearly $100,000, £100,000. Not shabby at all. But instead of doing all these nice things for his family and savings and stuff like that, don't know which side to go. Um, he just pissed it out all the way. He'd be in the pub every day. He'd drink beers every day, and he would then go to the bookies and gamble at least £50 per day on horses. So it wasn't long, a few years, he'd lost it all. Lost all his money just through gambling and drinking and, acting the big I am. So that's the karma back. That he's now skint. But unfortunately, that means part of the kids, they've still got nothing now because of this idiot. Makes me my blood boil when there's people like this just pissing money away when you got children and stuff. Um, so yeah, during this period, he's not working. So what happens now? He's gonna have to get some work. He's gonna have to basically eat crow and go begging for a job as a farm labourer. Well, he ain't doing that. No chance is he doing that. So what's he do? Well, he starts to steal. So he gets a taste of it. He starts to steal and burglarise houses and stuff like that. Gets a big taste of it. I like this. This is better. So he starts doing that, doing the rounds. And before long, what does that turn into? Unfortunately, that turns into murder. And this is the first case. On the 22nd December 1985, he targeted a three-story farmhouse at Scovston Park. Basically, his neighbours. It was a brother and sister, Richard and Helen Thomas. Richard was 58 and Helen was 54. They were both very, um, you know, how can I say, reclusive. They're introverts. They didn't like to be out. They're lovely people, by all accounts, lovely people. Just kept themselves to themselves, and that was it. They obviously had a bit of money, living in a mansion, had a farm. Um, John also used to work for Richard, and he used to buy hay from Richard. So in Wales, I'm sure everywhere back then, you'd buy hay for the animals and things like that. So um, that was all them together going. They knew each other very well, basically. So he decides to steal from them because he knows they got money. So he breaks into the house. What he doesn't know is Helen catches him. He didn't think anyone was in, but she's like, "What are you doing?" She recognizes him, or recognizes his voice at least. So he knows, John, what are you doing? Why are you trying to steal? I'm going to tell the police. What are you doing? As soon as she says that, he obviously ties her up. He's got a sawn off shotgun, and probably without thinking, can't even think about what this woman's thinking at that point. Her neighbour stealing, now with a gun in her face, and he shoots her. Not long after, we got Richard coming back to the house. He doesn't know that John's in there. He doesn't know that John's been around trying to steal everything. He walks in, sees John, and John kills him. I know that, I've read that, obviously he wasn't expecting to kill anybody. He wasn't, had no intention of doing it. Well, shite. If you got a gun and if you got bullets in it, what are you trying to do? You're going to be prepared to kill. So, first double murder. And sad thing is, they didn't have anything in the house. There was nothing worth monetary value in there. There wasn't much money in there. He killed them for pittance because they do everything the sensible people do and save. Then, obviously, what he decides to do next is to get rid of all the evidence and anything left behind is to burn the place down. No one suspected him. He had Pat would give him an alibi. She was too scared not to give him an alibi, so she'd always give him an alibi whenever he needed it. So police were never on his tail really because of it. Even though they were neighbours, he was close by, he knew the family well. Um, he was seen as an aggressive person, but not a murderer. So it became a cold case, because of that. We then go on to uh, many years of still burglarizing people, um, and it's not until May 1989 that things turn. So this takes us then to May 1989, and I'm not sure if everyone has heard of Bullseye. It's a game show. Um, this is the logo, as you can see. It's all about darts and stuff like that. Now, John played darts down the pub, and he entered Bullseye, and this actually helped the police a lot. And eventually, they would use this program to help convict him.
You've got an unusual hobby, John.
Oh yes, the scuba diving.
The scuba diving. And apparently, it's the place to do it down there, isn't it?
Oh, we've got coastline.
Because is it the mountains are sort of inverted, and you've got all the.
Well, we've got deep water where you can sort of swim over mountains and all sorts.
Yeah, we hope you all have a good night with us. Give them a round of applause.
Just 3 weeks after this episode was filmed, Peter and Gwenda Dixon were shot dead on the coastal path.
You've got £220. What are you going to do?
We'd like to count.
There it is.
But we managed to then freeze John Cooper in exactly the same position as the artist's impression. And for me, it was like a tracing. The way he was standing, his build, the hair, the scraggly hair, the sort of shoulder length, the unkempt look and moustache. The senior investigating officer advisor, I showed it to him, and his response to me was, fucking hell.
So, as I mentioned, after this clip on Bullseye, he went on to commit another double homicide 3 weeks after this was filmed or released on TV. Went on to kill Peter Dixon and Gwenda Dixon, his wife. Peter's 51 and Gwenda was 52. And they were both killed on June 29th, 1989. They were in Milford Haven for a holiday. As I said, there was lots of walks, nature walks, path walks. They enjoyed coming to Milford Haven and experiencing that. This is the last day of holiday for them, so they were basically packed up, decided to go for one more walk before going home to England. But didn't quite work as it should have. A peaceful walk in nature in Wales, it turned into an absolute nightmare. Remember when I said earlier on about John having, hide stuff like gloves, guns, knives, everything in bushes? Well, he's ready to steal again. He's ready to rob some people. So he's there hiding in the bushes with everything with him when Peter and Gwenda come, and he sticks a gun out to them and says, "Give me your money, give us your cards." So they gave him their bank cards, bank details, everything, just anything just to get away from him. Gave him every penny they had. But obviously that wasn't enough for him because they'd seen his face. I presume that's why he then decided to kill them both. So he proceeds to kill them. He then also steals some of their stuff, not just money and things, but clothes, and uses the bank card in town, pulls money out. But again, the police don't have enough actually to prosecute him right there and then. They need more because DNA wasn't a thing back then. It wasn't a massive thing. There, there was some DNA stuff on some clothing that they couldn't test. They didn't know much about it. So this guy was getting away with it again. So from there, after killing two more people, he then goes and essays two girls, a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old. This is something that he did. Again, didn't really care about other people. So he just, at gunpoint, told them to get down, essayed them, and this wasn't new for him. He'd done this before. He'd done it again afterwards with a larger group. Luckily, they were able to escape without anything. But that's his ammo. Like, I've not gone into too much details about that side of it because it's not something I want to really delve into right now. This is more about murders and things, but he's got a wicked side to him, a horrible side to him. Things started to come to a head for John, thankfully, finally, in 1998, where he was jailed for 30 burglaries and robbery involving a shotgun. And police, like the locals, and that by this point, he'd sort of escalated. They started suspecting for the murders, but they didn't have enough evidence on it because, again, DNA still wasn't standard where they could go after him. So again, this was a cold case. He was away in jail for 14 years, and that's all they could do as it stood. So when he was released, though, in 10 years afterwards, I think, nearly 10 years afterwards, just over, in 2009, DNA was starting to play a bit of a role now. So detectives decided to put him under surveillance because they needed a little bit more. They needed his DNA and everything. So they put him under surveillance to see what can we catch here. They made a breakthrough when the officer found DNA from the Dixon family on a pair of Mrs. Dixon shorts. He'd kept the shorts, As I said earlier on, he'd taken lots of clothing and stuff, but he kept it as a trophy. I know people do that, but why? What are you doing? But thankfully he did, you know. He kept him in his room as a trophy, and a drop of Mrs. Dixon's blood was found under paint on the shotgun Cooper had used, and stashed in the hedge. Once they put him in the surveillance, they saw where he was going, and they found a lot of stuff in the hedge, so near his home. So he didn't have a clue they were following him. Thankfully, so they were able to catch him, you know, or nearly catch him. It was a part of Pat as well, because Pat was the one that found the khaki shorts. God bless Pat. She died on the day that he came out of jail, out of prison. But she played a huge part in getting this scumbag put into jail for 4 life terms. His son had to be a witness. That's how we know a lot of this stuff that he did and the abuse that he put them through. He's changed his name now to Andrew, and he wants to be left alone. As I said, Teresa, we don't know anything about her, and I respect that from them. But Swansea Crown Court, he stood there and told everyone he was representing his family, his mother, his sister, himself, with everything this guy had done for them. So once he got arrested and jailed, it was done. He tried to get out of it. You hear from interviews and stuff. He's trying to wheel out of it as he is, because he got away with murder for so many years. But finally, and thankfully, he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, where he should be. Well, that's the end of it. Thank you everyone for watching. If you made this far, I really appreciate it. Please go subscribe. I'd appreciate any subscriptions. Please like the video and everything. I know I rushed this one a little bit. It's the first time I've ever done this. Hopefully, I will improve by next time. If you've got any cases that you would like me to just present like this, happy days. Let me know, and I'll do it. Um, that's all I got. As I say, I'm excited to hear your feedback. Really want to hear your feedback, both positive and constructively negative as well. Just I say we're here together. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to end your waffling. Right. Thank you. Cheers. Ta.